Bruce, you're going to say something?
Yeah, mate. Just to share with everyone a sort of a story, my story around this. I grew up in what would be considered a blue collar working class sort of environment. We were the poor of the poor. We weren't um, we weren't on welfare, but we were probably the next step up from that. And so the great Australian dream of owning homes and all that was the dedication of my parents. And so I grew up with what I'd call a poverty mindset. And then I've gone into Christian ministry, and of course, poverty is a virtue in Christian ministry. So it was no longer just a mindset; it was a virtue because you don't want to be rich as a Christian because money is the root of all evil and all these sort of twisted ideas. And then I ran across Ruben and Matthew and KBN, and they were leading some ministries out, and I was just helping in the background run the data projector that was Stone Age because they couldn't work out how to use it. So I'd just be in the back of the room operating it. And I'd be hearing these messages, and I'd be hearing this Deuteronomy 8:18, and remember the Lord your God because he has given you power to create wealth. And I'm sitting there going, what? What? What are you talking about? And then there'd be the Isaac one in 26, and there's a drought and he's multiplying. And what are you talking about? And then finally we got to this unrighteous, if you can't be faithful with unrighteous mammon, how can I trust you with true riches? And I go, oh my goodness, I think I've got this completely wrong because I'd been in the mindset of getting just enough to get by and hoarding the little bit I had for a rainy day just so that we'd be able to survive. And felt like that was really good discipleship and really good steward of money. I gave, I used the principle of a tithe. What a sinner I am! No, I used the the idea of 10%. Read Ruben's book. That's why you should read my book for my stuff and read his book for his stuff. I am definitely a student of Ruben's in this area and Matthews. And then I want to tell you a breakthrough. So we had this old bush property that we'd done up, and that was our retirement dream. It was really a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. But anyway, it was a retirement place because in ministry, I get a house with my job. And so I get a little bit of money and a house provided. But when I leave the job, I don't get to take the house with me, which is kind of unfortunate. So we had to find out a way to have somewhere to live that wasn't a tent when if we retired or changed careers. And so we built this project in the bush. And then I started shifting my mindset. So I'll just give you a quick summary review of the outcome. So I changed my mindset dramatically. And so we just settled this week uh, on a sale of another block of land. So the original property we sold at the peak of the market while Melbourne was at the bottom of the market. We made 29% more than the market was capable of doing in that area. We then bought another little property up there with extra land. We within 2 weeks of it settling, we sold it and got all the money we invested back, but we still had a full block of land left. And we just, in the middle of a COVID crisis, we asked the salesperson to sell it for a particular figure, and she sold it for $5,000 more. And she sold it in 4 days. Now, everyone's saying everything's going bad. It feels like a little bit of an Isaac story and sowing in a drought. And what's going to happen with that is then we bought a house in Melbourne with a bit of a loan, knowing that the extra bit of land would pay it off. So effectively over a period of a year. Now this is in it, and here's the challenge. Sometimes we're too embarrassed to be successful. So I'm going to tell you something, and I'm a little bit embarrassed about it because in the past, this would have been only for the rich and famous, and it's only a small amount of money to some people, but it's an absolute shed load to us. So we've made about 100,000 in 18 months, and we've done next to nothing to get it. Now, not only have we done that, we started hanging around with Matthew, and he's talking about this other a foreign exchange investment thing, and we so I was very reluctant, very afraid to take a risk, very afraid to lose money. So some of those things Ruben was talking about, I was ticking all those boxes and 100% fearful. And then Matthew said something, and Ruben often says it: "Does your money work as hard as you do?" And I looked at what it would be doing to me, in the bank and all that. And I'm thinking, it's absolutely bone lazy, my money. It's not doing anything. It's idle. It probably costs me more in fees than I make from this stupid stuff. So we dabbled. Now we dabbled. We followed some wisdom around that, and we're just seeing multiplication. So now the house I bought produces a little bit of rent because I'm blessing my daughter with it, but it produces enough to actually pay the loan off. Meanwhile, the other stuff's producing enough to get to the point where it'd pay the loan off if we didn't have my daughter in there and we were in there. And we're also imagining the next thing. So here's the punchline at the end of it all. One of the things Ruben and Matthew will talk about is how do you get to the point where you can have such an abundance of flow that you can be a blessing to other things. But the clue in that is just work out what you need to live on and do well on, and let God use all of the rest. And so that helps us get past that idea of, I just want to have enough. Well, work out what you think your enough is, and then say, I'll just use that. And anything above that you give me, I will extend into the kingdom. And that's just made it so much easier to escape that idea of I could be greedy, or I could get addicted, or I could get stuck in it, or I don't know if I'd be responsible enough. And the last thing I want to say about it is the thing that really helped me change was hanging around people who knew how to live the change. So sometimes the isolation of hearing a good idea and then going away and trying to think, well, how would I actually do it? I'm still too afraid. I'm still not sure how to do it. That's why Christianity is discipleship, not a pamphlet. You have someone to follow, but you pick someone to follow that can live the culture that you're hoping to be able to grow into. So I just want to encourage people that I've literally moved from one end of the spectrum, poverty is a virtue, to the other one where I'm starting to imagine. So I'm like, you can't have anything if you won't imagine it. I'm imagining ridiculously good things that are well beyond the amount that I need. So I've worked out roughly I need about this much, and I could thrive on that much. And I've got these dreams and ideas of what I could do with the rest beyond that to deal with homelessness in the area and set my daughter up to help with. Actually just got a passion for that, to set up programs and development things. It's not just about houses, it's about hearts and lives and hope. And it makes me want to cry just thinking about it. And because I've worked out where my ceiling of what I need is, so that I can cut sick with the rest. Does that make sense to anyone?